morning, ma'am.
Please come, Garima. Please come.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
sir.
Please sit down. Your seat is there.
Thank you, sir.
Settled?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So tell us about yourself briefly.
Yes, sir. So my name is Garima. I was born and brought up in Buxar district of Bihar. Thereafter, I went on to do my graduation from Kirodimal College, University of Delhi, after which I have been preparing for the civil services. In my free time, I like to listen to podcasts, which are mostly in the self-help and self-improvement genre.
So, Garima, I was very happy to see you were awarded Best Essay on Women Empowerment by a UN forum. So, what were the points that you mentioned in this essay on how to empower women?
Yes, sir.
Some major 3-4, very short.
Yes. So in this essay, first of all, I talked about what are the major challenges that are prevailing the situation of women in India at present. And thereafter, I tried to address them in different dimensions. For example, with respect to the political challenges, I talked about how political empowerment of women is going to change the landscape from women empowerment to women-led development. Thereafter, I also talked about the economic empowerment of women, wherein how we can take small steps to significantly increase the labor force participation rate of women. Thereafter, I also talked about what are the legal challenges prevalent and how can we address them in small ways. In the end, I also talked about the long-rooted socio-cultural issues that are prevailing at present in our society and how we can go on to address them, all of which cumulatively would help in the advancement of women in our country.
So now all these points that you have mentioned, political, economic, social empowerment, now you're from Bihar. How would you implement these 3-4 points if you become DM of one of the districts, say Buxar only, or Bihar? How would you actually bring them into practice?
Yes, sir. So,
Very briefly.
yes, sir. So,
Let's talk one by one. Political empowerment. Can you do anything about it?
yes, sir. So I would like to provide any sort of counseling that I can provide to the sarpanch and panch that already exists to empower them politically and to make them more aware of what are the functions that they can undertake.
Suppose the women seats or women reservation is just about 33%, 1/3,
Yes.
exact. Can you motivate them to go up further, up to 50%?
Yes, sir. So at present, Bihar government already has at least 50%, and in practical, it is 52% who are holding it at present.
Right. Economic empowerment of
So
Bihar.
I think self-help groups would play a very important role. So I'll help them to provide them knowledge of any schemes that are available at present. For example, the Saksham Learning Centers, Mahila E-Heart, which would help them get integrated in the MSME value chain. Sir, for the social empowerment, I would first of all empower them in terms of their health and nutritional aspect, make them aware about it, provide them vocational education and skills that would help them, and also provide them any counseling with regard to domestic violence or other issues that they are facing.
This prohibition in Bihar prevented some domestic violence? Has it helped?
Yes, sir. So prohibition was a policy which was implemented because of the plague, because of the condition that women were facing in Bihar. And I think it has immensely helped and improved the condition of women in Bihar.
So, Garima, you are a accountancy student also.
Yes, sir.
Now, the budget is presented annually by the union government, also the state governments. Now, there are 3-4 statements: profit and loss, balance sheet, funds flow statement. What exactly is the form of budget?
So the budget is an annual financial statement, which is in the form of a balance sheet that is present, that shows the actual receipt and expenditure of the past year and the estimated receipt and expenditure of the upcoming year.
But where are the assets? Where are the liabilities?
So the macroeconomic policy statement that is presented, it also talks about the assets and the liabilities.
No, but there are only current assets and liabilities.
Yes.
What about fixed assets and fixed liabilities?
I am sorry, sir, I'm not able.
Or is it more we are discussing,
Yes, sir.
Garima?
Yes.
Don't have to be regretful. Government never says ki this is a financial statement, P&L or whatever. What about possibility of it being a funds flow statement? You have no idea, it doesn't matter. So let me come to commerce. Is it okay? Suppose if we are trying FTA with the UAE, FTA with Australia, European Union, suppose a situation comes that the entire, we are free trade world. Anywhere you can, whichever quantity, whichever product you can trade with any country. How would India gain and how would India lose?
Sir, if there was a scenario, then India would gain in terms of the services that it would export to the other economies, because that is the proficiency of India. In terms of goods, we have competitiveness in a lot of product, but India would stand to lose in terms of the cheap electronic goods that would be flooded in India, which India is still developing its infrastructure for. So I think that would be a minus point, and the services sector would be a plus point for India.
Okay. My last question. In the last budget, in this budget, you are a commerce and accountancy student also. So among various schemes, there are some schemes in the small savings category started by the union government only for women.
Yes, sir.
Can you recall them?
Yes, sir. So one scheme that I can recall is Mahila Samman Bachat Patra, in which it is only for the women of India who can save up to rupees 2 lakh, and they would be provided a fixed interest rate of 8% on that, and it also provides a partial withdrawal facility on that.
Very good. Thank you, Garima. I pass on.
Garima, you're talking about women empowerment. Yesterday only, something relating to women empowerment, very noteworthy thing has happened in Nagaland.
Yes, sir.
What has happened?
So 2 women MLAs have been elected in Nagaland who are women.
For the first time?
Yes, sir, for the first time.
Okay. Suppose you are a district magistrate of a district, as women empowerment is your forte sort of thing. Now, you're talking about sarpanches, pradhans and all that. What we have seen that the pradhan or sarpanch, they elect a lady, but all the works is done generally by her husband. In many villages, we have seen like that. And you call a meeting of the sarpanches or the pradhans. So they come to you in your meeting, but they are accompanied by their husbands also. Okay? Now what you will do, because they don't know anything ABC about any decision taken or anything to be told. The man replies everything. He says everything. The woman is just a sort of rubber stamp and do some signature sort of thing. So as a district magistrate, what you are going to do in such a scenario if it happens before you?
Yes, sir. So I think I would tackle this situation in both the short term and the long term. For the short term, I would try to make aware the women that it is their prerogative and it is their right as well as the responsibility to discharge the functions. But because historically they have been discriminated and they are not in a position to discharge their functions in an efficient manner and they feel underconfident, in the long run I'll try to train and educate them in whatever ways I can by getting them admitted into learning gap schools or vocational education. Also, I would like this to be accompanied by a sensitization of their male counterparts so that they also realize that women-led development would bring revolutionary impact in the district and would improve the outcome for everyone of that district as well as the nation.
This women empowerment factor, it has also is a very important factor in Pradhan Mantri Gram Awas Yojana. How the women empowerment is an important factor in Pradhan Mantri Gram Awas Yojana?
Sir, I'm not exactly sure, but if you would allow me, I would like to take a guess. Sir, I believe the house that is registered is in the name of a female member of the house.
That's good. Garima, now I just wanted to discuss with you about these civilizations, human civilization. The human civilization generally, it has grown centering around certain religions, and generally if you see, the civilization is grown centering around a particular religion, and those civilizations, there have been clashes also, there have been conflicts also, there have been wars also throughout the ages. Why do you think this religion is such an important factor? Because religion, generally we recognize something which is unseen. We fear something which is unseen. On the basis of that, the religion, and it has created so much of war, so much of problems throughout the globe. Why this is so important to human being, this religion, that so many wars?
Sir, I believe religion is something that we tend to draw our identity from. We tend to follow it and practice it on a daily basis. And there are some moral conducts which are written in our religion that we sought to practice. However, the problem comes when we start to believe that the interest of one religion is mutually hostile to the interest of another religion. If that was not the case, then I believe all the religion has something good to preach about. And if everyone followed the good part of their religion, the world would be a better place and a more harmonious place.
Why it doesn't happen then? What is the root cause?
So some of the reasons I can think about is that there are multiple interpretations that people can draw out of the text given in their religion. Apart from this, there are always certain antisocial elements that would try to socially engineer and take advantage of the cleavages that exist in the society.
Okay. My last question is a current situation. Have you heard something about Belt and Road Initiative?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
So Belt and Road Initiative is a global development initiative undertaken by China, wherein it is trying to revive its ancient Silk routes and establishing trade and investment relations with countries all over the world. So CPEC is a part of the bihar Belt and Road Initiative, in which China is trying to connect its Xinjiang province with the Gwadar port in Pakistan, and thereby having an access or an opening in the Arabian Sea.
But it has already access to Arabian Sea through Malacca, through Indian Ocean. It has already access over there. Why it is insisting on this route, land route?
So the geopolitical scenario has been changing, and the world is now shifting to a more multipolar world, and powers like Japan, India are emerging. So China believes that its trade, and a huge part of China's trade passes through the Strait of Malacca. So it is China's Malaccan dilemma, which has led to an insecurity in the mind of China, so that it wants to create a buffer that in event of any insecurity, it would be able to bypass that route and maintain its trade relations through Arabian Sea.
Why this Xinjiang province of China is always in news?
So Xinjiang province of China, as far as I recollect, is in the news because of the human rights violations that has been happening there.
And, is there a special community over
Yes,
there?
sir. So the Uyghur Muslims reside over there.
Good. Thank you very much.
Garima, let's talk about your educational ed tech startup. So can you tell us a little more about it?
So during my college, I worked with an edtech startup, which is an edtech consultancy firm with regard to Delhi school admissions.
Delhi school administration. So do you think it has capability of being adopted by on a larger scale in India?
So yes, sir. So in this startup, the model is that because of globalization, most of the parents are working parents, and there is a demand supply mismatch in the seat availability of school. So we have to fill, let's say, 15 to 20 forms, and then the chances of this child getting admitted in one school increases. So I think given this scenario, it has a huge potential to be replicated in other cities as well. First starting from the metropolitan cities and then going on to the other tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well.
Garima, you have studied accounts, so you know direct tax revenue and indirect tax revenue. So in this budget, can you tell me the figures of direct tax revenue and indirect tax revenue?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not able to.
All right. So if you are made secretary in finance ministry and you are asked to raise revenues, which one will you touch, direct or indirect, to maximize the revenues?
Sir, I believe I would raise the direct taxes because it is progressive in nature, unlike indirect taxes, which are regressive in nature and hurt the pocket of the poor people and the rich alike. So I believe, and at present, the direct taxpayers in India are the lowest among the OECD countries. So the tax base there can be increased effectively, and it would not hurt the common man as well.
You have heard of the term EBITDA?
Yes, sir. I have.
So can you explain what is EBITDA?
Sir, it is earning before interest, depreciation, and tax.
And what does it represent? Means why is this figure so crucial in a balance sheet?
Sir, it is on this figure after which the depreciation is charged on the assets, and on this figure, after arriving at that figure, the taxation is deducted. So it is basically the gross revenue that any firm earns.
And Garima, what is difference between depreciation and amortization?
So depreciation is charged on tangible assets, whereas amortization is charged on intangible assets.
Last question I want to ask you is on foreign reserves. What are the components of foreign reserves of a country?
So a country's foreign reserves consists of the special drawing rights, then the gold and the gold bullions that the RBI keeps with itself, and the securities that the RBI holds in different nations of different government, and the dollar and the foreign currencies that it holds. So all of this constitutes the foreign reserves of a country. Thank you, sir.
Garima, you are the Secretary Ministry of Women Empowerment and Women and Child Development Department. All right. Now you have a desire that this Women's Reservation Bill should be brought before Lok Sabha, but the political will is otherwise. So as a Secretary, how will you try to influence, I'm using the word try to influence the decision makers to see that it gets through, it goes to the Parliament, to the Lok Sabha?
I think it would be very desirable if this happens, and if given an opportunity, I would definitely try to present them case studies from all around the world. For example, the recent New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who did really well during COVID, I would try to convince them using that. Secondly, I would also try to convince them in terms of equality and justice that would prevail once this bill passes, because women constitute around 50% of our population, and their representation in the Parliament is only 14%. Third, I would try to show them research and evidence that exists. For example, a research by Esther Duflo says that when women are in the position of policy making, then they focus more on social infrastructure, and the outcomes are not just benefiting the women, but are benefiting the entire country as a whole. So in that capacity.
Now you are in IFS, Indian Foreign Service, and you are posted in one of the cities, you are posted in Tehran, and this incidence of poisoning of girls, going to the school is taking place. So how will you try to, and obviously you will not be in favor of this, what will you do to influence the public opinion against it in a subtle manner without compromising with the foreign policy or without compromising our relations with Iran?
And this is a very tragic incident, and it should not happen. In this respect, I would try to, first of all, take into confidence the influential figures in Iran. It can be the religious leaders who are not very radical but believe in equality, because they would have an appealing power there. Apart from this, I would also like to convey my message to the larger public in Iran about how the situation at present is tense, but slowly it would improve over the period of time.
As per the latest report, GDP has gone down to 4.4%. What is the main reason for GDP lagging behind?
Ma'am, the present estimate has been revised because the base year GDP has been revised, and it is an impact of that. But the GDP has been lagging behind because of multiple reasons. One that I can think of is that we are still recovering from the...
No, there is only one reason which has been given. I am talking about only this quarter's GDP.
Yes, ma'am.
So there is only one reason. One sector has not performed well, manufacturing sector. So what needs to be done to bring it up?
In terms of manufacturing sector, the first thing that needs to be done is infrastructure boost, which would help in infrastructure creation and would directly impact the manufacturing sector. The second thing that can be done is to improve the logistics of an economy, and that's all I can think.
So these things can't be done overnight, right?
Yes.
Anyways, my last question is about Quad meeting which ended today, and Indo-Pacific region was on the agenda, one of the items. What is the importance of Indo-Pacific region for India?
Ma'am, recently the geopolitical theater has been shifting towards the Indo-Pacific. The Indo-Pacific is important for India because it is India's traditional sphere of influence. India wants to be a net security provider in the Indian Ocean region. Also, China's increasing efforts to impart its footprints in the Indian Ocean region by leasing ports all over our country, all over our neighborhood, needs to be tackled, and therefore, and also to ensure freedom of navigation and rules-based international order, the Quad meeting would play its role in that. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Garima, basic structure doctrine was in news recently. So, what was the issue about, and what is your take on the issue?
So, the basic structure doctrine was in news recently because because the people have been demanding that the collegium system which exists at present should be modified to provide for a more transparent method of appointment of judges to the courts.
Okay, so what's your take on the issue?
Sir, I believe that judicial independence cannot be separated from judicial accountability. In that regard, I believe that a modified collegium system would be a better method, wherein there would be representation both from the judiciary as well as from the executive. There would be eminent experts in that, and none should have a veto power over the other. I think, and also the method should be made a little more transparent, and the time limit of sending proposals and ratifying them should be reduced and made very transparent.
I would like to know your opinion about the Adani issue and the Hindenburg report. Is there a question mark on regulators? How do you see the entire episode?
So the issue is still under investigation. Till that happens, I believe the regulatory structure in India is very coherent and extensive in this regard. And however, certain safeguards need to be ensured. For example, there can be a better regulation on offshore shell entity through which Adani is alleged and accused of holding its shares. Apart from this, once the investigation report comes out, we would be in a better manner to judge the situation.
It is said that investigation agencies or the central agencies like CBI, ED are not truly independent. So, how do you see this statement?
Yes, sir. It is often said that central agencies like CBI are not truly independent and they work at the behest of the center. However, I believe there have been reforms in the appointment of the CBI director as well, which has made that body a more independent body, and they have performed exceptionally well in certain cases and investigations. So I think something more can be done, but the situation is still improving.
Okay. So Garima, tell me, if petrol and diesel are bought under the ambit of GST, what will be the advantages as well as disadvantages?
So if petrol and diesel are brought under the ambit of GST, then the input tax credit would be claimed on that, and the ultimate price that the consumer pays for them would reduce. However, the major disadvantage that it would bring, because it is the major source of revenue at present for the central government, the revenue would decrease.
Okay, thank you, Garima. I pass on to Chairman, sir.
Garima, this G20 anti-corruption group had met some time ago. So what have been the demand from the Indian side to the G20 countries? Yeah.
So the Indian side had demanded for strengthening of the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act and the easier extradition of the fugitive economic offenders from other countries to India, which would help in better recovery of the loss that has happened from Indian banks and would help in their improving their financial position as well.
What else? Anything on the process
Sir, I am not
to expedite the judicial process?
No, sir.
Okay, doesn't matter. So, Garima, we are on the verge of closing our interview, but before that, if you think that something has not been covered by us from your DAF, then maybe I can ask one more. Already done?
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Garima. We are done with the interview. You may proceed to the next room. We'll call you in another 2
Thank you
minutes.
so much, sir. Thank you.
Garima,
है ना?
please sit down. Garima, unfortunately, you may not have much to write. Guess why?
Probably I did good.
Yeah, because there is not many things that we are going to advise. Anyway, you have done exceedingly well, Garima. So you have already mentioned that you think that you have done well, haven't you?
I've
What's
done-
your own assessment?
So I can do a little better.
Yeah, there's always scope. We'll tell you some of the things where you can improve, but you are excellent and keep it up. Just 2 things very shortly. Bring your communication during the interview from relatively debate kind of mode to a conversation mode. Right? So, I know you have never been a debater, but you could be a very good debater. So, what I saw and others also saw, that you were making your point very effectively. That is a good point. But your entire mode was as if, you are debating on a point. It's more on a baatcheet. So that is why I said, जब आप एक भी question answer नहीं दे पाई थी, मैंने कहा we are discussing it. It was like a conversation. So conversation में debate तब होता है जब आप one sided बोलते जाते हो. You did not raise your hands. I'm just to explain that what is. So just see your video again when you watch. So just as much as possible, जितना भी आप change कर सकती हो. नहीं change कर सकती तो you be as natural as you were today, because you have done so well. We have given you 72% for today's performance, which amount to near 200, right? So अगर कुछ भी नहीं करोगी तो तुम्हें इतना मिलना हमें लगता है निश्चित है, और अगर तुम थोड़ा सा चेंज कर लेती हो हल्का सा तो you will cross 200. That is for certain. That is my first point. Second, a few corrections. One about this Mahila Samman, you said 8%. It is 7.5. Just check it. And if you are not very sure about these percentages, you should avoid. Skip कर जाओ, कोई जरूरत नहीं है. कोई परसेंट पे इतना कोई वो नहीं है. मेन है पता होना चाहिए कि हाँ, the moment you say महिला सम्मान this हो गया तुम्हारा नंबर पक्के, right? Secondly, regarding financial statement, since you are slightly stuck on that, never get stuck on such questions. ये कोई जनरल नॉलेज वाली बात नहीं है कि पता है तो ठीक है, नहीं पता है तो सॉरी. It was basically, that is why I said कि it is not a question which is written somewhere. There is no answer. But हमारी background accountancy का, and you are such a bright person, so we thought that we will discuss and think कि अच्छा भाई क्या है उसमें, क्या चीज नहीं है, क्या. You could make a try. Even if I say कि it is more like funds flow statement, I mean nobody will endorse my point because it is not written. वो FME नहीं कहती है कि today I am presenting the funds flow statement. But you being an accountant or accountancy आपने की है तो उस slide में I was asking. So isn't it more like a fund flow? Where is the money coming from? Where is the money going? Because you don't mention the assets. अब assets देने लगे तो न जाने क्या क्या अपनी बिल्डिंग का भी आ जाएगा, और कैश कितना पड़ा है वो सारा दुनिया खुल जाएगी कि what all money that we have, both current and versus fixed assets and liabilities also, कि वर्ल्ड बैंक को इतना देना, ये सब तो नहीं आता. It's just where the money has come from. वो आता है ना, रुपी बनती है, कहाँ से पैसा आएगा कहाँ जाएगा. So if at all somebody asks this question, it's more like a profit loss इसलिए नहीं है क्योंकि there cannot be any loss. Now fiscal deficit is not a loss. Fiscal deficit is the difference between your income and the expenditure. So it's basically income expenditure statement and funds flow, where the money will come from, where the money will go. That's all, Garima. Otherwise, you're near perfect.
Garima, you are excellent candidate. Excellent candidate. Okay. So I have nothing to say to you about. Only thing is that you please keep on doing whatever you are doing for your studies. Just keep on doing that till your interview is over. One small suggestion that whenever you listen to a question, then you, while answering, you first repeated that question. Now, this may be a good thing or this may be a bad thing. I mean, I am not judging that. But I think, in my opinion, it will be better that in one question, say you repeat the question and then answer, or you may not repeat, then answer. So it will balance it out actually. Otherwise, for all members, if you listen to question and while answering, you preface that answer with that question itself. So what does it, sometimes it becomes some monotonous type of things. Actually. So sometimes you can do it. I mean, if it is in your habit, so you don't avoid it. You do it, absolutely no issue. But sometimes you avoid it also, so that it becomes balancing thing. You know. So that's the only thing. Is my suggestion from my side to you. Otherwise, you are excellent candidate. I tell you, excellent. All the best.
Garima, excellent. Very good. Very well attended. Even the question that you, the second part of the question, always look into the, from where the money comes. 1 rupee, पैसा कहाँ से आता है और कहाँ जाता है. So there you will find direct, indirect percentages. So you will find that total maybe around 58% comes out of both direct plus indirect. Now go into separate. Direct कितना है, indirect कितना है. You need not give me exact figure. You could even mention the percentages, which is more than enough. And second part, you were right, where if you are finance secretary, what will you increase? Alright, so your analysis and reason was very good. And rest on, you addressed excellently. Well done, just keep it up.
Garima, I was so happy on your reply as Secretary Women Development. You know, it was such a beautiful answer. But when it came to being ambassador in Tehran, you should have taken some time to think. No, you on opinion-based questions, situational questions, you should not hurry up the reply. You said, I will talk to religious leaders and all that. I think you should take care of that. And secondly, when you were not aware of this GDP and manufacturing sector, instead of guessing and coming out with wrong answers, I believe it's better to avoid, you know, unless and until you are very sure. Right? So otherwise you are excellent. Thank you very much.
So Garima, nothing new to add, just keep it up. Wish you all the best. I pass on to Chairman sir.
So Garima, anything you would like to ask us?
Sir, if you permit, I would like to ask ma'am what to do in that Tehran situation.
आप बताओ, मुझे तो पता नहीं. आप एम्बेसडर हो, आप अपनी गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी के अगेंस्ट तो कुछ करोगे नहीं. So obviously, जिनके साथ आप interact करते हो, your colleagues or some dignitaries who visit you, you can just discuss in an informal manner. You can't do anything beyond that. You can't go to religious leaders and start talking about it. Isn't it so? You can influence the policy making in your country. Maybe they are able to play some role in that. But you have to be very cautious, no? Ambassador only does what is the foreign policy of that particular country. You don't go out of the way to talk to religious leaders or, you know, leaders, political leaders and all that. You don't do that. Right?
Anything else, Garima? Nothing? So this is your second attempt and first interview? So how have you done your mains? Okay, and by how many marks you missed the mains in the first attempt? Oh, acha, that. So you have done well. Which was your optional?
Commerce and accountancy.
Commerce and accountancy. You are happy when you came out?
Yes, sir. I was very happy when I did paper 2, but paper 1, I think I could have done better.
So you must be calculating marks, how much marks will you get? How much have you estimated?
So in the entire
Out of
mains,
1800?
sir, around 800 plus.
So, Sumesh ji,
Yes, sir.
800
it's
पे क्या?
enough. It's enough.
800 में 200 जोड़ो.
Generally, sir, the toppers score around 950 to 1000.
So अगर 200 गरिमा को 200 मिल जाते हैं तो 1000 में
टॉपर्स में
तो ये तो टॉप 20-30 होपफुली
So गरिमा हम आपको मतलब कॉम्प्लेसेंट मत होना हमारे कहने से, only to motivate. You have already done your main, you can't do much about it, but इसमें आप बहुत अच्छा स्कोर कर लोगी. Keep this spirit on for the another next 14 days. Okay.
गरिमा अभी और थोड़े ज्यादा अभी मॉक्स मत देना. कभी कभी एक लास्ट मॉक ना कभी कभी नेगेटिव फीडबैक की वजह से वो माइंड में रह जाता है. सो गो विद द पॉजिटिव इंटेंट ओनली. एंड मार्क्स अभी सर ने शायद बता दिए हैं.
We have told, I told
198 मार्क्स. हाँ, तो इससे ऊपर ही लाने हैं. ठीक है, चलिए.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.